Let's talk about impulsivity from the perspective of ego psychology, which was invented by the godfather of psychology, Sigmund Freud. So, there were three components of ego psychology. There's the id, and that's what we call the pleasure principle. Basically, where you fulfill your desires, your primitive instincts, that's your id. And then there's the ego. And that's where you kind of weigh the pros and cons. And you kind of say, this is not probably the best thing to do. It's not good, or this is bad, or that's where you kind of make your decisions, right? And then there is the super ego. And that's where when you act on those desires, you might kind of feel a little guilty. So now that we know the three components, let's talk about it with respect to ego psychology. Essentially, what we want to get down to is this. The reason why it is so hard for us not to do something that we know is not so good for us, but we like it, is because as people, at least Sigmund Freud theorized, we are driven by our desires. When we want something, we're going to act on it. We want to experience that pleasure. That's why it's so hard to quit cigarettes. That's probably why it's so hard to quit drugs. Because you're getting those pleasure sensors. You're getting that dopamine release, or you're getting those endorphins released. It's like working out. When I work out and I'm like outside running for 4 or 5 miles and those endorphins release, I feel so great and I feel supercharged even after I'm done that the next day I want to go out and run again. So the point is this. When it comes to impulsivity, we are driven by our desires. And that's why we act impulsively, because we want to feel good.